All right, let's dive in. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on something you're already using every single day, whether you know it or not: artificial intelligence. We're going to break down everything from the simple assistant in your phone to the incredibly powerful AI tools that are seemingly everywhere now. So let's figure out how we get from a simple Siri request to a genuine super assistant. You might not even realize it, but you're probably using AI all the time. I mean, think about it. When Netflix suggests that perfect show you didn't know you needed to binge, that's AI. Unlocking your phone just by looking at it, AI. That spam folder that thankfully catches all the junk, yep, that's AI too. It's already woven into the fabric of our digital lives.
So, okay, we're all using it. But what is this stuff, really? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It feels like this huge buzzword, but behind all the hype, there's some really fascinating tech. And to get it, we really need to understand how all the different pieces fit together. To really get our heads around this, the best way to start is by looking at the AI family tree. See, AI isn't just one single thing, it's a huge field with all these different branches and specialties. Let's start right at the top.
Okay, so at the very top of that tree is artificial intelligence itself. And at its heart, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's the whole science of trying to make computers smart. The big goal is to get machines to do things that up until now have required a human brain, things like learning from experience, reasoning through a tricky problem, and even fixing its own mistakes.
And I love this slide because this toolbox analogy just makes it all click. Think of artificial intelligence as the entire toolbox. Everything's in there. Now, you open it up, and inside you've got machine learning. Those are like your specific power tools, drills, saws, designed for one big job: teaching machines to find patterns in data. And then inside that set, you have deep learning. That's your top of the line, most advanced laser-guided precision tool, using these complex networks inspired by the human brain. See? It all fits together. Okay, so we've got the basics down. Now let's zoom in on the type of AI that has completely taken over the conversation recently. The kind that doesn't just analyze information, but can actually create things. And that's called generative AI. The master chef analogy here is just perfect. A great chef doesn't just follow a recipe card, right? They draw on their knowledge of thousands of flavors and techniques to invent something totally new and original. Well, that is exactly what generative AI does, but its ingredients are data. It combines what it's learned to create brand new text, images, music, you name it. And I'm willing to bet you've heard of these guys. We're talking about the big players, right? ChatGPT, which can whip up an essay or write computer code; DALL-E, which can create a photorealistic image from just a few words; and Midjourney, making that incredible, mind-bending digital art. They all work on this same incredible principle: creating something that didn't exist a second ago just from a prompt.
So how in the world does this actually work? I mean, how does a machine create? Well, the engine behind all this is something called a large language model, or an LLM for short. So let's pop the hood and see what's really going on inside. To really get this, we have to go back to a massive breakthrough in 2017. Researchers at Google came up with this new design, this new architecture they called the transformer, and it was an absolute game changer. The paper they published had this amazing, kind of cheeky title: "Attention is all you need." And it turns out they were right. This architecture became the backbone for pretty much all the AI we're talking about today. So how does this transformer thing actually work its magic? Well, it pretty much boils down to this four-step journey to understand what you've typed and then generate a response. It breaks your text into pieces, turns those pieces into meaningful numbers, figures out the context of what you're saying, and then builds its answer. Let's walk through it step by step. First up, tokenization. The AI can't just read a whole sentence like you and I do. It needs to chop it up into smaller bits, words, or even parts of words, called tokens. The recipe analogy here is spot on. You got to prep your ingredients before you can start cooking, right? You lay out the flour, the eggs, the sugar. It's the same idea. Okay, step 2 is where it starts to feel like magic. It's called embeddings. Each one of those little tokens gets turned into a long, long list of numbers. But, and this is the key, it's not random. Think of it like a giant complex city map, but for meaning. On this map, words like king and queen are neighbors. They're located really close together. But a word like chainsaw is way over on the other side of town. This is how the AI starts to understand relationships between words. And this brings us to that key ingredient from the paper: attention.
This is how the AI figures out crucial context. So look at this sentence. The bank is near the river. Now, the word bank could mean a place you put money, right? But the attention mechanism lets the model look at the other words in the sentence. It sees river and it goes, we're talking about a riverbank. It's a super clever way to avoid getting confused.
All right, last step, prediction. So you've got your tokens, your number maps, and your context from the attention step. All of that gets fed into what's basically a digital assembly line made of neural networks. And it's on this line that the final response is built, literally one word, one token at a time. It's constantly looking back at what it just wrote to figure out what comes next. Now, understanding and generating texts like this, it's incredible. But it's only half the story. The next giant leap, the thing that's happening right now, is giving these AIs a toolkit so they can stop just talking about the world and start actually interacting with it. This is what we call AI tool use. And the smart intern analogy here is just perfect. Think about it. An intern who can only read books and write reports is helpful, sure. But what about an intern you give a computer, access to the company calendar, the customer database, a phone? Now that intern can actually schedule meetings, pull sales numbers, and get things done. That's the difference we're talking about. And this right here shows you the massive difference it makes. An AI without tools, it can write a fantastic general article about the science of weather patterns. But an AI with tools, it can connect to a live weather service and tell you that it's 15 degrees and cloudy in London right now. It's that huge jump from abstract knowledge to real-world actionable information. So let's throw a tricky question at our new AI agent, something it can't just find in a book it read 2 years ago. A question that needs live data and maybe even a little bit of math. An AI with tools doesn't just guess. It has a thought process. First, it reasons. Okay, to answer this, I need 2 things: today's date and the official schedule of eclipses. Then it acts. It calls a calendar tool for the date. It pings a NASA database for the eclipse data. Then it goes back to reasoning. Okay, let me do the calculation. And finally, it gives you the precise factual answer. It's like watching a problem-solving mission unfold. So when you put all of this together, the deep understanding of language, plus this brand new ability to take action with tools, you get something completely new. You're not just looking at a better chatbot anymore. You're looking at a true super assistant. So let's just quickly recap the big ideas from all this. First, we saw that AI is the whole toolbox, and generative AI is that super powerful creative tool inside it. We learned that the engine for all this is the Transformer's 4-step process. And maybe most importantly, we've seen that the really exciting future is connecting this brain to real-world tools, letting AI finally go from just talking to actually doing. And that really brings us to the most exciting part. We are shifting from an era of just getting information from our tech to an era of action and automation. The question is no longer just, hey, what can you tell me? It's becoming, hey, what can you do for me? So I'll leave you with this to think about. What's the first thing you're going to ask it to do?